Hey guys, so I do a lot of stop motions on this channel, and I thought today we could go over 10 tips and tricks for beginners. While making stop motions, these tips will help you make your stop motions better and smoother. Now, if you're not a beginner, that's okay. You can still watch this video. You still might learn something. I've been making stop motions for many years now, and the goal of this video is by the end that you will be better at making stop motions. In this video, I'll be using Lego for examples, but these do apply to all stop motions. For number 1, we have take your time. Now, stop motions take a very long time to do, especially if you want to make a long and smooth stop motion. It could take months to make. You just have to be patient and take your time. You don't want to get discouraged because it might take you 3 hours to add 30 seconds to your stop motion. Number 2, we have lighting. Lighting is a very important thing in your stop motions, as if you don't have good lighting, then your lights will flicker, and you won't be able to see what you're animating as well. Ideally, you want to use big lights like these that I have, but if you don't have these lights, just simple desktop lamps work. Make sure when you're doing stop motion that there are no outside lights on. You want to turn off your bedroom light or whatever room light you're in. Also make sure that to shut all the blinds so you don't have any natural light, because if you have natural light coming in, as you know, outside, the sun changes position, so that would really mess with your stop motion as you do it. With lighting comes shadows, of course, so you do not want to be in the way of the light, so you always have to make sure before you take your shot to check to see if your hand or your body is making any shadows, and if so, you need to adjust it immediately. Also, base your light on what is happening in your scene. If it is a nighttime scene, then you're going to want to have dimmer lights, and if it is a daytime scene, you're going to want to have brighter lights. Number 3 is to keep your camera still. That's extremely important if you do not want to have shaky shots in your stop motion. This really messes with it, and the viewer may get confused on what's going on because they can't see your suspect clearly. One very simple way to make sure that your set does not move is by using sticky tack, tape, or what I use, Play-Doh. Just stick down your sets. Another way to make sure that you do not have a shaky camera is to have a tripod. If you don't have a tripod to hold your phone or your camera on, that's perfectly fine, as you can make one out of Lego very simply. This is what I did for a very long time before I got an actual tripod. Number 4 is a little bit more advanced, but this is special effects. So I'm not going to show you too much detail on how to do the special effects. If you guys want tutorials on that, you can let me know down below and I will make these videos in the future. But very simple things like explosions or rain or even lightsabers are all special effects. Special effects really just add a bit extra to your stop motions and make them look a little more alive. It also looks a lot more professional and really adds to your stop motions. Next, we have camera angles. Camera angles are also very important because if you just have your camera positioned and your set positioned in one spot and you're just moving the figures around, it's going to get boring really fast because your audience is only looking at one angle. You want to kind of get in there and get maybe some up close shots, some far away shots. Really mix in these different kinds of shots and it will really make your stop motions look a lot more cinematic. Next up, I cannot stress this enough, this is super important for stop motion. This is something called onion skinning, which I use in every single one of my stop motions that I've ever done. It is extremely helpful for you after you accidentally bump your set or to see exactly where your minifigure was last. It makes your stop motions look a lot smoother in the end, and is just an extremely helpful tool while making your stop motions. For number 7, we have FPS, which stands for frames per second. Frames per second is like the name says, it is how many frames in a second of your stop motion. So if you put it on 10 frames per second, that means you would have to take 10 pictures to be 1 second of the stop motion. Now, when you first start off stop motions, you don't want to instantly jump to 12 FPS or 15 FPS. You want to start out small, usually start out at like 8 FPS, and then slowly work up to 10 FPS, and then 12 FPS. Most of my stop motions that I do now are shot at 12 FPS, some are 15. but some of the very advanced stop motions that you might see on YouTube are shot at 24 FPS or 30 FPS, which is extremely high, but once you are good enough and you work very hard, you can get to these and it'll make your stop motions look so much smoother. Next up is sound, or sound effects. These are also very important because if you just have a stop motion with absolutely no sound in it, that is going to be a huge issue because your audience will get bored extremely fast. They will just be in visuals and no audio. There's multiple different kinds of sounds that you can have, of course. There's dialogue, where you can record yourself talking. You just want to make sure that if you're doing all the voices, you do different tones, so not all your characters sound the exact same. You can even have family members or friends do voices for your stop motions, which I have done in the past.
See you on the other side. Let's go, George.
Oh no! Creepers!
Another thing is music. Now this is a little more advanced, but if you notice in normal movies and TV shows, the music really coincides with what is going on in the movie. It'll be very fast music if there's like a fight scene. A little bit slower music if it's a sad scene. You really just want to base your music off of what is going on in your film. Then we have sound effects of maybe punching or walking or blaster shooting or lightsabers. These are all examples of sound effects. Another thing is you don't want to use the same effect all the time. If you have the exact same effect playing over and over, it will be very repetitive and extremely boring. We have expression. Now I want you to look at this first clip and then the second clip and tell me which one you think is more interesting. You would obviously say the second clip, because in the first clip, the minifigure barely moves, and it's kind of boring. But in the second clip, the minifigure is waving his arms around and kicking his legs, and it really shows that he is excited. This is a good example of expression. Now, I know in real life people don't really do this while they're talking, but since you can't really have facial expressions, it is very good to do arm expressions for your minifigures, and it really helps bring your characters to life. And for number 10, have fun. Because if you're not having fun while you're brick filming, then there's no point in it. The whole point is it's a hobby. It's something fun you can do. You should just overall be having fun while you're doing it. And if you don't enjoy it, maybe take a break and change what you're filming about. But overall, you just want to have fun. And there you go, guys. There was stop motion tips and tricks for beginners. Now, I do plan to make a part 2 to this, which is a little bit more advanced. So if you would like to see that, don't forget to hit like and also subscribe so you don't miss out on any future videos. Go check out some of my stop motions on my channel. I'm planning to be putting out much more. Anyways, I hope you guys did enjoy, and I will see you all in my next video.